make a mistake on Twitter, or even something that isn't a mistake, and you can pay what feels to be a pretty high price.
Right.
Now, whether it is a high price or not is hard to tell, because Twitter is so weirdly fictional. It's so hard to get a grasp on exactly what's going on.
Well, it's also your comprehension of what is your emotional reaction to people that you don't know being mean to you. Like, this is like, what is that price? Some people want to dismiss that as being just nothing. It's not that big a deal, but it is a big deal. It causes people to commit suicide. I mean, it has, absolutely. Bullying online has caused many people to commit suicide.
Well, the thing is, the weird thing about that online communication is that, like, I find that I tend to react to a negative Twitter comment as if it's someone sitting across from me talking to me that I know. Mm-hmm. Now, it's not. And I don't even know if the person is real, because the accounts are often anonymous, right? So that person isn't really real. But your emotional response is still, well, someone's gone out of their way to be harshly critical to you.
Right.
And that doesn't happen that often in your day-to-day life. And so, if you're a reasonable person, you're very sensitive to criticism,
right,
because it's rare and because you might be wrong, especially if there's a lot of people criticizing you, because you kind of have to be psychopathic in order just to brush that off. It's like, well, 100 people think I'm wrong. There's nothing to that. It's like, well, if it's 100 people out of 100 million, but you can't tell on Twitter,
right.
then it's irrelevant. But if it's a mob of 100 people that show up outside your house, which is quite kind of what Twitter feels like, then you think, well, God, I must have done something wrong, because otherwise why would all these people be here?
Right.
And I think that's why so many people are driven to apologize, when they do something on Twitter or do something, and then the Twitter mobs go after them. They think, oh God, I must have done something wrong. I should do some soul searching. And so some of that's not even fear. It's more like, it's in a sense, it's a morality that's misplaced because of our inability to calibrate the social messaging. I mean, I've almost completely stopped reading Twitter comments in the last month, and I'm definitely better for it.
Yeah, it makes you way happier, right?
Oh yeah, it's too much. It's too much.
Crazy.
It's too crazy.
Well, what is your number up to now? The number of followers you
have? About 1 million on Twitter.
Yeah, that's when it's about time to get out of Dodge.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm still following people and reading what people are posting, but no, the comments, I'm just. It's
not worth it.
No, it's not. And I think it does have something to do with the technology itself. Like, I do believe that small limit facilitates angry, impulsive responding.
Perhaps because you're trying to get people to respond to you, but the alternative is Facebook, where you have these long posts that are just rambling first drafts that people put out. Like, when they start ranting about politics or what have you, I just can't get involved. They're just too big. And then people jump in and comment on them, and often their comments are massive as well. It's just too verbose. Whereas the good thing about Twitter is it makes you boil down what you're trying to say to a very succinct thing. Although I do enjoy when someone has a good Twitter thread. But there's, a lot of it is just people just trying to get a reaction. And what's the reaction they can get? By pissing you off. That's like the best one.
We don't exactly know what motivates people to respond on Twitter, and it might be that the fundamental motivation for a Twitter response is anger.
Yeah.
Rather than the desire to share something, because we don't know anything about how these new communication techniques function psychologically.
Right.
Like, maybe Twitter is skewed 90% towards people who are impulsively angry at that moment. It could easily be. We don't know. Like, if you're driving in your car and someone cuts you off, you curse, or at least I do. And it's often a situational issue rather than a personality flaw on the part of the other driver, even though it's easy to assume that. But you respond impulsively. I mean, God only knows how much of our social media networks are set up to differentially reward impulsive behavior. And it's also not that easy to hold people accountable in some sense. And maybe there's some utility to that. But with anonymous accounts and all of that, the anonymity is also problematic, because it certainly enables people to allow their worst to manifest themselves, especially if they're resentful and angry. So
the only benefit that I can see to anonymity is it gives you the opportunity to explore controversial ideas without blowback.
True. I think
it's used correctly.
Well, that's it. I think that's true. I mean, I don't think that it should be forbidden, but well, like most things, it has its advantages and its disadvantages.
Like most things, it's not entirely negative to be anonymous.